So being trapped in Vancouver means that I need to be working on Dirk Gently all the time. All those scripts there, I have to write a whole bunch of them. And it's a very intense job, and I am very, very, very overwhelmed. But I still have lots of ideas for movies all the time. So I think about them, and I talk about them, and I try to get other people here to listen to me, but they go, hey, you're supposed to be working on Dirk Gently, so I decided to just make a video of one because trying to call one of my friends in LA and telling them felt weird. So I had this idea. It's about like an Elon Musk or Richard Branson type guy. He's multi-billionaire, and he builds a one-stage rocket, a one-stage spaceship like SpaceX that can fly up into space and come back down. He's privatizing it. There's going to be a big prototype launch. Everyone's really, really, really excited about this incredible step forward in technology, except one guy. He's this aerospace engineer who works for him, and he's like, hey, Richard Branson, I'm just a mid-level engineer, and I have some bad news, which is that your rocket will never, ever, ever be cost-effective. This spaceship will never be cost-effective because the engine alone, to make it, is $7 billion. So you could fly this thing everywhere in the world, and you would still be $7 billion in the hole at the end of the first flight just to do repairs on this engine, just custom or just, normal maintenance on your private engine. And so what does the Richard Branson guy do? He fires that guy, and our lowly aerospace engineer is sort of kicked out into the street. He has to sign a bunch of papers that say he won't say anything about the engine, and he is miserable. He ends up working at his old aerospace firm where everyone resents him and makes fun of him because he worked with Richard Branson and got fired, except for he can't tell any of them, yeah, that guy's an idiot. Instead, he's on TV. Richard Branson's on TV talking about what a genius he is, and our guy, like Elijah Wood or Sam Rockwell or someone like that, there's a version of it where it's Kevin Hart, where it's just someone funny and likable, is in the fucking dumps. And he's a nerd, and he doesn't do very good with girls, and he has non-disclosure forms, so he can't talk about what his life was up until this moment. So he ends up using this online dating app to meet a girl. He goes on a bunch of dates. It's miserable, he's negative, and finally he meets this girl who's funny and smart and bubbly and cool, sort of like a non-manic pixie Zooey Deschanel, just charming and warm. And he goes on this date with her that's absolutely great. And during it, they're in a bar and they see on TV Richard Branson. The test flight is coming up in 6 months. It's finally going to happen. Privatized space flight. The dream is real. And he goes, oh, that guy's such an asshole. He's had a couple of drinks. And she goes, why? And our guy says, our aerospace engineer says, well, that ship is bullshit. The engine is made of component parts from a bunch of different space programs that you could sell. He bought them one by one. He didn't invent anything. He just combined them in a new way. Each of those pieces of the engine is worth upwards of $200 million. And if you took it apart, no one would even think it was special. You could just sell it and make $5 billion. He'd make more money selling that ship than he would flying it. And she goes, okay, weird. Like, you seem very passionate about this. And he goes, yeah, it's a fucking bullshit thing. And they end up hanging out. They go home. They sleep together. And they start dating. They've been dating for like 2 weeks. Our guy's life is doing a little better. And she ends up going like, I want you to meet my best friend. He's gay. I want you to come out with him and his boyfriend. So they go out together, and they're at a restaurant. They have this great night. The gay couple are really funny and cool guys. Very like Matthew Bomer and maybe like Hugh Jackman. Just very cool erudite gay guys who are very hip and with it. And they're at dinner, and one of the gay guys is a seismologist, and he's talking about how his job is really hard because he has to study up on all these things that have nothing to do with his science. And Zooey Deschanel says, hey, aerospace guy, tell them what you told me about Richard Branson's spaceship. And they go, yeah, tell us. And he goes, well, technically, I'm not supposed to really have talked about that, so maybe we shouldn't talk about that at dinner. And the two gay guys are like, who are we gonna tell? He's a seismologist. I own an art gallery. Like, just tell us. Like, what's the story? And Zooey Deschanel goes, yeah, it's funny. Tell them. And he goes, well, the engine of the ship is worth more than the ship, and he'll never make his money back. But I'm really not supposed to talk about it. And they're like, what do you mean? And he goes, well, like, if you took the engine of the ship and sold it, if Richard Branson took the engine of the ship, no, Richard Branson couldn't do it. It would have to be someone from the outside because it would have to be an independent marketed thing. You'd have to pretend to crash the ship or that the ship got destroyed, and then wait a year and sell the pieces individually, and no one would know. And the gay guys are like, that is so interesting. How would you get it off the ship? And one of the gay guys is like, you couldn't steal it on the ground. Like, it's too well protected. And the aerospace guy is like, well, drinking his whiskey, well, you know, you'd have to do it while it was in flight. And they're like a train robbery. And he's like, yeah. And they're like, how would you do that? He's like, you know, why do you want to know? And they're like, because this is fun. You're being so interesting. And he's like, well, you get one of the old Saturn I rockets. You do it in low orbit when it crests, when it hits like the highest level of the atmosphere. You get up there where there's almost no gravity. You pull it up there. You can keep it up there for as long as you need, for like at least 10 hours before orbit starts to decay. And you steal the engine, launch it. No one even needs to get hurt. You can crash the ship. No one's the wiser except for the pilots on board and Richard Branson. And the gay guys are like, you would know how to do that? And the aerospace guy's like, yeah, of course. I'm like one of the best aerospace engineers in the world. This fucker only fired me because I told him that it wouldn't make his fucking money back. And the gay guys and the girl are like, that's so interesting. So if you can tell where this movie is going, it's a heist movie. But it's a heist movie where he's been tricked by these criminals who, the two of them really are gay. At first he's like, I bet they're not even gay. And then Hugh Jackman's like, no, we're gay. There's two criminals and their friend have been stalking him for, you know, years to try to get to this exact plan. And they blackmail him into doing a heist with them. And it's like, you know, Sexy Beast meets Gravity. It's like this incredible, fun heist movie, The French Connection plus, you know, fucking space stuff. I think there's something really great there. And then, of course, the big twist, let me spoil the big twist, is that once they're up there, it turns out Richard Branson was in on it all along, and he's going to fuck over all of them because he knew he couldn't make his money back, and now he's going to cash in for the insurance. So I can't write this movie right now. I don't have time. I'm doing Dirk, and then after that I'm doing Further, and then after that I'm doing the thing with the cars, and then after that I'm doing the thing with the moon, and then after that I'm doing the thing with the balls. So I don't, and I have the thing with the skunk too. So I have so many things to write, but I have these ideas every day, and I'm so happy that and also it's like this huge budget movie. I mean, like a pretty big budget movie. You need big stars. It would need to be executed really well. I don't know where exactly I'd sell it. God, if this was only 1996, we could do it as like Gravity plus Point Break. Just so much fun, but with nerds. Like, you know, the team is all nerds who are doing this heist. Yeah, it would be a cool movie, but like, my life comes down to whens. Thanks for letting me tell you about it, though.